The 12 hidden stages of spiritual awakening Carl Jung tried to warn us about. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Carl Jung. Every spiritual awakening begins as a quiet whisper within the soul, a call to remember, to shed illusions, and to return to your true essence. In today's video, we'll uncover the 12 hidden stages of spiritual awakening. Carl Jung tried to warn us about stages that reveal how transformation often begins in confusion, but ends in clarity and peace. As you watch, reflect on where you might be in your own awakening. Which stage speaks to your current journey? Comment your insights below, and let's grow together in this community of seekers. Welcome to Spiritual Wisdom, where truth meets transformation. 1. Discontent, the soul's call. Discontent is not a curse. It is the first whisper of the soul urging you to awaken. Beneath every restless thought and quiet ache lies a divine invitation to step beyond the surface of life and into the deeper realm of spirituality. This dissatisfaction does not mean something is wrong with you. It means your inner being is ready to expand beyond what once felt enough. In spiritual awakening, this feeling is sacred. It is the moment your consciousness begins to sense that material success, achievements, and external validation cannot fill the void that calls from within. Rumi's words, "The wound is where the light enters you," capture this beautifully. For the places where you feel most lost are the very gateways through which transformation begins. You start noticing that the life you built no longer fits the person you are becoming. Conversations feel shallow, routines lose color, and desires that once drove you now feel empty. This is not regression. It is the shedding of illusion. The universe often stirs discomfort when it wants to redirect your focus from noise to truth, from performance to purpose. You may find yourself questioning everything. Why am I here? What am I meant to do? These questions, though unsettling, are signs that your spiritual awakening has begun. The human spirit is not meant to stay asleep in comfort. It evolves through contrast. Just as a seed must break open to grow, your discontent is the breaking open of your old self so that light can enter. This process can feel heavy. You might grieve the old dreams that no longer resonate, or feel lost between two worlds, the one you are leaving and the one not yet visible. But in spirituality, every ending conceals a beginning. What feels like disillusionment is actually purification. Your awareness is being cleansed of what is false. The ego resists this, whispering that you are failing or falling apart. Yet beneath that noise, the soul quietly says, "You are awakening." This phase asks for patience, honesty, and deep self-compassion. You are learning to trust your inner guidance more than societal expectations. You begin to seek experiences that nourish rather than distract, silence over stimulation, truth over comfort, simplicity over accumulation. The beauty of spiritual awakening is that even pain becomes purposeful. When you stop running from your dissatisfaction and listen to it, it turns into wisdom. Your heart becomes more open, your perception more refined, and your intuition stronger. You start realizing that what you were chasing was never what you truly needed. Meaning begins to replace ambition. Presence begins to replace performance. This is the alchemy of awakening, the transformation of discontent into direction. And when you finally understand that the ache within you is not punishment, but preparation, the entire energy of your life shifts. You stop fighting your experience and begin cooperating with your evolution. So when restlessness visits, don't suppress it. Observe it. Honor it as a sacred messenger reminding you that your soul is evolving. Every wave of unease is guiding you toward higher awareness, greater authenticity, and deeper peace. The wound becomes the window. The longing becomes the language of the soul. And the discontent you once feared becomes the light that leads you home. Are you feeling the call of your soul? This is where true awakening begins. If you're ready to answer that inner voice and step into your higher path, comment below. I hear the call to begin your journey of spiritual awakening. 2. Questioning and seeking, the inner quest. You begin to ask questions that pierce through the surface of everyday existence. Questions about who you are, why you are here, and what truth really means beyond the noise of the world. This marks the beginning of a deeper phase of spirituality, when your consciousness awakens to something vast and eternal within you. These questions don't arise from mere curiosity, but from an ancient remembrance stirring inside your soul. It's as if lifetimes of inner knowledge begin to resurface, whispering that you are not a product of coincidence, but a being of divine intention. At this point, spiritual development becomes less about chasing goals or proving worth, and more about peeling away the illusions that have kept you disconnected from your essence. You begin to sense that the journey has never been about becoming more. It has always been about remembering who you already are. As you dive deeper, you realize that much of your life has been unconsciously shaped by old patterns, beliefs, and societal conditioning. The mask you've worn to please others begins to dissolve, revealing your authentic self beneath it. This process can feel like both liberation and loss. The version of you built on survival and external approval starts to fall away, leaving you exposed but free. In these moments of internal chaos, Carl Jung's words echo in your mind. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. You start to see how your repeated struggles were never punishments, but reflections, each one guiding you to uncover what you had long ignored within yourself. This realization shifts your entire perspective. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you begin to ask, "What is this trying to teach me?" With this awareness, a new sense of clarity arises. The noise of comparison fades, replaced by a quiet strength that comes from self-understanding. You no longer feel the need to compete, because you finally understand that your path is not meant to look like anyone else's. Every experience becomes sacred, every silence meaningful. Spirituality, you discover, isn't about detaching from life. It's about engaging with it through the eyes of awareness. You start finding beauty in ordinary moments, wisdom in pain, and peace in uncertainty. Your heart opens, your intuition sharpens, and your connection to the divine deepens. What once felt random now feels orchestrated. What once felt meaningless now reveals a hidden purpose. Gradually, you begin to trust this inner intelligence, the quiet voice that has always been guiding you. You learn to listen instead of chase, to flow instead of force. This is where true spiritual development unfolds, in surrender, in patience, in faith that everything has its season. The more you align with this inner knowing, the lighter your soul becomes. The need for validation fades because you've tasted the serenity that only authenticity can bring. The lesson embedded in this stage is clear. Evolution isn't about striving to be more. It's about shedding what is false so your true essence can emerge. In questioning, you find clarity. In seeking, you remember. And in the stillness that follows, you finally recognize that every doubt, every challenge, and every heartbreak was simply your soul's way of calling you home to yourself. Comment below. I seek inner truth. If you're ready to look within, question everything you once believed, and begin your journey toward real spiritual wisdom and awakening. 3. Enlightenment, expanding awareness. Enlightenment is not a sudden event, but a gradual unfolding of consciousness, where your awareness expands beyond the limits of the ego and begins to merge with the infinite field of existence. As Carl Jung said, who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes. This stage of spiritual awakening is the deepening of perception, where you start to access what mystics call the Akashic records, a vast reservoir of spiritual wisdom that holds the memory of all souls and all lifetimes. You begin to see the interconnectedness of everything, understanding that every moment, thought, and experience is a thread woven perfectly into the fabric of the universe. Nothing happens by chance. Every person you meet, every challenge you face, and every emotion you feel is part of your soul's curriculum, guiding you toward higher awareness. Truth, like the sun and the moon, cannot remain hidden forever. It shines through illusions, revealing itself when you are ready to see, not with your physical eyes, but with the vision of your soul. As your awareness expands, you start to see through the illusions that once defined your sense of reality. The walls between you and life begin to dissolve, and you realize that the external world is merely a reflection of your internal state. You stop chasing happiness outside and begin to cultivate stillness within. Fear and desire lose their grip because you no longer seek validation or control. Instead, you observe life as it unfolds raw, real, and sacred. The light of consciousness exposes your inner shadows, but instead of running from them, you embrace them with compassion. Jung warned that no tree can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell. And in this stage, you understand that enlightenment is not about escaping darkness, but integrating it. Every shadow you face brings you closer to wholeness. Every wound you heal becomes a doorway to divine truth. Gradually, you begin to live in harmony with the rhythm of the universe. Judgment fades into understanding, and resistance transforms into surrender. You start to see the sacred in the ordinary, in the breath, in silence, in the way sunlight touches the earth. Dualities dissolve. Joy and sorrow, gain and loss, light and dark become part of one divine dance. You no longer ask, why is this happening to me? But instead, what is this teaching me? Enlightenment turns suffering into wisdom, chaos into clarity, and isolation into unity. The more you let go of control, the more peace you discover. You start to sense that life is not something happening to you, but something happening through you. A divine flow that moves effortlessly when you stop resisting. This stage teaches that enlightenment is not about becoming special or powerful. It is about becoming transparent enough for the light of consciousness to move through you freely. You no longer seek truth because you become truth itself, radiant, aware, and free. In this expanded awareness, love ceases to be an emotion and becomes your natural state of being. Compassion arises effortlessly because you see yourself in all things. The illusion of separation disappears. replaced by the knowing that everything is one, every star, every breath, every heartbeat connected in the same divine rhythm. Enlightenment, therefore, is not an achievement, but a remembering, a return to your original state of unity with the whole. It is the recognition that the universe has never been outside you. It has always been within. 4. Resistance and inner turmoil, facing the shadow. You reach a point on your path of spirituality when you can no longer escape from yourself, when the silence around you becomes deafening because it forces you to hear your own soul. This stage, known as resistance and inner turmoil, is where the real spiritual awakening begins. Everything you've avoided, your fears, your karmic patterns, your old wounds, comes rushing to the surface. It's as if the universe places a mirror in front of you and whispers, "Now look." The illusions that once protected you begin to crumble, and you start to see the truth beneath them. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." This is that moment when fate transforms into awareness, and awareness becomes liberation. The pain you face here is not punishment, but purification. Each memory that resurfaces, each emotion that breaks through, is part of a deeper cleansing that your soul has been waiting for. The shadows you once ran from are no longer external enemies, but hidden fragments of yourself longing to be seen. You begin to realize that the darkness within you is not meant to destroy you. It is meant to reveal you. Healing past and present traumas becomes a sacred act, a ceremony of returning light to the forgotten corners of your being. Spiritual awakening is not about escaping the human experience. It's about descending fully into it, feeling it all, and emerging with wisdom. The more you allow yourself to feel, the more you begin to understand that pain itself carries a divine intelligence. Jung reminded us, there is no coming to consciousness without pain. The ego resists transformation because it fears death, but the soul understands that this death is the beginning of new life. When you face your fears head-on, you dismantle the illusions that have kept you small. You start to notice patterns that repeat in love, in loss, in your reactions, and you finally understand that they are not curses, but calls for awareness. Every emotional trigger becomes a guide, every confrontation an initiation. Spiritual wisdom teaches that you cannot rise until you have descended, and you cannot truly awaken until you have embraced your shadow. As you move deeper through the resistance, the chaos begins to soften. The storms that once frightened you become cleansing rains. You notice moments of clarity, small but profound, the kind that make you realize you were never broken, only buried beneath layers of pain. The turmoil inside becomes a teacher, revealing truths that no book could ever teach. Your suffering transforms into sacred light, and you begin to see that this process was never about becoming someone new, but remembering who you truly are. Healing is not the absence of darkness, but the integration of it. When you learn to hold both the shadow and the light within you without judgment, that is when your true spiritual awakening begins. It is here, in the heart of resistance, that your soul finally breathes freely. Leave your like and subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss new insights on awakening and transformation. To affirm your courage in facing your shadow, comment below, "I embrace my inner truth." 5. The abyss. The decision point. You arrive at a sacred turning point in your spiritual development, standing before the abyss, a space that demands a choice between the comfort of what you know and the mystery of what you cannot yet see. This is not a metaphorical cliff to fear, but a divine invitation to step into uncertainty with faith as your only guide. The abyss is where the familiar self begins to dissolve, where all false securities are stripped away so that truth may emerge in its purest form. Carl Jung described this as descending into the unconscious, a necessary journey through darkness to retrieve the hidden light of the soul. In spirituality, this moment signifies the death of illusion and the birth of awareness, the moment when the ego loses its grip and the higher self begins to awaken. The abyss is not cruel. It is transformative. It tests your faith, not by giving you answers, but by teaching you how to trust the silence. When everything around you seems to fall apart, it is not punishment, but purification. Life removes what no longer aligns with your evolution, so you can move forward unburdened. In that stillness, when nothing seems certain, something sacred begins to stir. It is your soul reclaiming its authority, whispering that courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to move despite it. Each step you take into the unknown reveals more of your hidden strength and shows you that fear was never the barrier, it was the doorway. Most people resist this stage because it feels like losing control. Yet the deeper truth is that control was never real. The abyss teaches you to surrender, to stop clinging to old identities and outdated beliefs that keep you small. It asks you to let go of your dependence on logic and open yourself to the vast intelligence of the unseen. You begin to understand that spiritual growth is not about acquiring more knowledge, but about unlearning everything that is not your essence. What you once called falling apart is in fact your soul rearranging itself into divine order. This is the sacred chaos where transformation begins, where death and rebirth coexist in a single breath. Jung once said, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain," and the abyss embodies this truth perfectly. It confronts you with everything unresolved, your fears, your wounds, your attachments, and demands your honesty. But in that confrontation, a miracle unfolds. The pain that once felt unbearable becomes the very force that shapes your awakening. You realize that darkness was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to show you how indestructible you are. When you stop running from the unknown, it stops chasing you and instead begins to guide you. The more you surrender, the more the universe aligns in your favor, leading you not away from yourself, but directly into your highest truth. The abyss is the great equalizer of the soul. It humbles the ego, silences the mind, and expands the heart. It teaches you that spirituality is not a path of comfort, but of courage. Through the abyss, you discover that the unknown is not a void, but a womb, pregnant with the next version of you, waiting to be born. The greatest wisdom lies not in avoiding the fall, but in trusting that you were meant to fly through it. 6. Rebirth and authenticity, integrating the shadow. After the descent into darkness, a quiet rebirth begins a moment when the fragments of who you are start to merge into something whole. This is the stage where you integrate both the light and the shadow, and through that union, you find authenticity. Carl Jung once said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." His words remind you that spiritual wisdom is not about escaping the dark parts of your soul, but about embracing them. Understanding that what you've been running from was never your enemy. It was a forgotten part of you, yearning to be seen. When you dare to face the aspects you've suppressed, you begin to see that they hold the keys to your transformation. Every flaw hides a truth. Every fear carries a lesson. Every wound becomes a source of strength. As the light of awareness touches your inner shadows, the resistance begins to dissolve, and compassion takes its place. You stop seeking validation from the outside world, realizing that authenticity is not something you earn, it's something you remember. You begin to live not for appearances, but for alignment, shedding the layers of false identity you once believed were you. This process, which Jung called individuation, is the sacred journey of becoming whole. It's not an easy path. It requires vulnerability, honesty, and the courage to confront everything you once denied. Yet it's through this inner alchemy that peace emerges. You no longer need to hide your imperfections because you finally understand they are the sacred cracks where your light enters and shines through. At this stage, you recognize that being authentic doesn't mean being perfect. It means standing firmly in truth, even when your voice trembles. It means showing love even when the heart aches. It means forgiving not because the pain disappears, but because your soul has outgrown resentment. The light that now guides you is no longer external. It radiates from within, from the union of your contradictions. Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are," and you finally begin to experience what that means. You understand that the purpose of spiritual awakening is not to transcend the human experience, but to inhabit it fully, to walk in both shadow and light with grace. Through the integration of the shadow, you discover that enlightenment is not a destination, but a deep acceptance of all that you are. The chaos, the calm, the grief, the joy, everything serves a divine purpose. You realize that light without darkness is incomplete, and awakening without struggle is shallow. You begin to honor your pain as your teacher, your fear as your compass, and your rebirth as your reminder that even the darkest night carries the seed of dawn. And in that sacred balance between light and dark, you find the ultimate freedom to live as your truest self, awake, whole, and real. Don't forget to subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom for more insights on integrating your shadow, embracing authenticity, and stepping into your rebirth as a fully awakened soul. 7. Oneness and connection, seeing unity. You begin to see through the veil of separation and realize that everything in existence is connected by one invisible thread of consciousness. What once seemed divided between light and dark, self and other, human and divine, now merges into a single truth that everything flows from the same source. As Carl Jung said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. And in this revelation, you recognize that who you truly are is not a fragment, but the entire ocean expressed as a single wave. You no longer identify solely with the body or the mind. Instead, you sense yourself as a soul moving through human experience, witnessing life through the eyes of spirit. In this stage of spiritual awakening, compassion blooms effortlessly because you no longer see others as separate from yourself. When you look into another's eyes, you see the same divine spark staring back. Their joy becomes your joy, their pain your pain, and this empathy transforms the way you live. The judgments you once carried begin to dissolve, replaced by understanding and love. For you now comprehend that every soul is walking the same path of remembering its own divinity. You stop trying to change others or force outcomes, for you see that all are evolving according to their own sacred timing. This deep sense of connection softens the heart, quiets the ego, and allows you to meet life with patience and grace. Every interaction, no matter how ordinary, becomes sacred. You start to see that the people who cross your path are not random. They are mirrors reflecting your inner world back to you. The universe speaks through them, guiding your growth through relationships, emotions, and synchronicities. Even moments of conflict reveal hidden lessons of love and self-awareness. The more you awaken, the more you realize that forgiveness is not something you give to others. It is a gift you offer yourself when you understand that there was never anything to forgive, only experiences to awaken you. Compassion becomes your natural language, and kindness your instinct. As this realization deepens, your sense of belonging expands beyond human circles into nature, the cosmos, and the entire fabric of creation. You feel the heartbeat of the earth in your own chest and the rhythm of the stars pulsing through your veins. The air you breathe feels alive, infused with spirit, and silence itself becomes a sacred conversation between your soul and the divine. You begin to live as energy aware, flowing, and in harmony with all things. This is not an idea, but a direct experience of unity that changes how you walk through life. The more you surrender to it, the more peace fills your being. In this awareness, you are no longer driven by fear, competition, or control. You move through the world with serenity, guided by intuition and love. Life stops being about survival and becomes a dance of divine participation, where you and existence are co-creators of the same unfolding story. You act with purpose, speak with intention, and radiate presence because you understand that your energy influences everything around you. You realize that the essence of spirituality is not escape, but embodiment to bring heaven into the human realm through awareness, compassion, and grace. Every breath becomes prayer. Every moment becomes meditation, and every choice becomes an act of love. In this state of unity, you live as a spiritual being, having a human experience anchored in the understanding that there was never separation to begin with, only the illusion of forgetting what you truly are. 8. Flowing with life and synchronicities. Trusting the universe. When you enter this stage of spirituality, life begins to unfold like a river flowing effortlessly toward its destination. You no longer feel the need to control the current because you understand that the current itself is divine intelligence guiding you. You start noticing patterns and coincidences that seem too precise to be accidental numbers repeating, a song that plays at just the right time, a stranger who says exactly what you needed to hear. These synchronicities are not random events. They are sacred messages from the universe, reminding you that everything is connected and that your journey is being guided by a higher consciousness. As Carl Jung once said, synchronicity is an ever-present reality for those who have eyes to see. And the more your awareness expands, the more these signs multiply, confirming that you are aligned with the rhythm of creation. Trust becomes your new foundation. You stop forcing outcomes and begin to allow life to move through you instead of trying to push against it. You start to understand that divine timing is perfect. Things do not happen when you want them to, but when your energy and the universe are in harmony. Each event, even the painful ones, carries meaning. Every delay hides a lesson. What once felt like rejection now feels like redirection. Through this realization, you begin to feel an unshakable calm within, and knowing that no matter what happens, the universe is working for you, not against you. Fear fades, replaced by faith that life always unfolds in your favor. The more you flow with this energy, the more magnetic your reality becomes. People, opportunities, and experiences begin to appear effortlessly, as if drawn by an invisible force. You no longer chase what you desire. You attract it naturally because you have become aligned with the vibration of ease and grace. You move with purpose, but without struggle, acting when intuition calls and resting when silence feels right. This balance between doing and allowing is the essence of spiritual development. It is where your human will surrenders to divine flow. But this harmony does not come without tests. There will be moments when everything seems uncertain, when plans fall apart, or when silence replaces clarity. Yet these moments are not signs of failure. They are initiations of faith. The universe is not ignoring you. It is inviting you to trust deeper. Each challenge strips away your need for control and strengthens your connection with intuition. You learn to see that even in stillness, you are being guided. Even in confusion, you are being prepared. Life itself becomes your teacher, and every experience, light or dark, becomes a message written by the hand of the divine. When you embrace this flow, you discover that life is not meant to be controlled, but danced with. The more you resist, the more you suffer. The more you trust, the more you thrive. The universe speaks in synchronicities, whispers in intuition, and moves in timing. When you stop fighting and start listening, life responds with grace. You realize that what is meant for you will always find its way, and when it does, it arrives effortlessly, precisely when you are ready to receive it. If you've made it this far, it means you're truly aligned with the message. Comment below, "I trust the universe," to affirm your faith in divine timing. And let the flow of synchronicities guide your path forward. 11. Co-creation with the universe, manifesting reality. When you reach the stage of co-creation with the universe, you awaken to one of the most profound revelations in spirituality, that you are not merely existing, but actively shaping your reality through every thought, emotion, and frequency you emit. You begin to see that the universe isn't an external force acting upon you, but a mirror reflecting your inner world. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." This truth becomes your guiding light as you realize that your inner beliefs and emotional states are constantly creating the experiences that unfold around you. Nothing happens by chance. Every situation, every encounter, every delay carries an energetic signature that aligns with what you project. Once this awareness awakens, you stop waiting for change and start embodying it. Through the lens of spiritual development, you learn that the energy you radiate shapes the reality you experience. Fear attracts limitation, while faith opens infinite possibilities. When you choose to think, feel, and act from a higher frequency of love, gratitude, and purpose, the universe begins to reorganize itself around that vibration. What once seemed impossible starts to unfold effortlessly. not because you forced it, but because your inner state finally resonates with abundance and peace. You realize that the universe communicates through energy, not words, and every moment of alignment becomes an invitation for miracles to occur. Synchronicities appear, opportunities unfold, and people who match your vibration find their way into your life, all because you have shifted from reacting to reality to co-creating it. Co-creation is not about control. It is about harmony. It's about understanding that you are an instrument in a divine orchestra, and your thoughts, emotions, and intentions are the notes you play. When they are in tune with your soul's purpose, life flows with grace. When they are dissonant, chaos reminds you to realign. You start to see that manifestation isn't about demanding what you want, but becoming the energy of what you desire. The universe responds not to your words, but to the vibration behind them. When your intentions are rooted in love rather than fear, your manifestations become pure reflections of divine timing. As your spiritual development deepens, you stop blaming, complaining, or comparing, because you finally understand that everything external is a reflection of your internal state. Gratitude becomes your natural language. You realize that every challenge is not a curse, but a message urging you to refine your energy. Every heartbreak teaches compassion. Every delay teaches surrender. You begin to witness how your inner transformation changes your outer world. As your mind becomes still, peace radiates outward. As your heart opens, love begins to return multiplied. You see that the smallest shifts in awareness create the largest changes in reality. The journey of co-creation reveals that the power to shape your life has always been within you. Your thoughts are not insignificant whispers. They are commands to the universe. When your inner dialogue matches your soul's truth, your outer world transforms accordingly. As within, so without becomes not just a spiritual idea, but a living experience. You no longer chase outcomes. You magnetize them through alignment. The universe doesn't require effort. It requires coherence. When your energy is clean, your faith unwavering, and your heart open, reality bends to meet the vibration of your being. That is the true art of co-creation, the merging of self and source, where spirituality and existence become one continuous expression of divine intention. 12. Unconditional love, compassion, and acceptance, the pinnacle. At the highest stage of spiritual awakening, you become the embodiment of unconditional love, compassion, and deep acceptance. You no longer view yourself or others through the lens of judgment, for you see divinity reflected in every being, every experience, and every breath. This is the moment when the walls of separation crumble, and what remains is unity, pure, boundless, radiant love. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And when you reach this point, you realize that who you truly are is love in its purest form. You stop trying to change the world by force and begin to heal it through presence. Your energy becomes calm and magnetic, your heart open and steady, your soul quietly luminous. You see the beauty in pain, the lesson in loss, the perfection within imperfection, and the divine purpose behind every unfolding moment of life. When you live in this awareness, compassion flows naturally from you. It's no longer something you practice. It's who you are. You understand that every soul is walking its own path back to the same light, and this realization dissolves the need to judge or compare. Forgiveness becomes effortless because you can finally see beyond the story of human pain to the truth of divine innocence that lies beneath it. You begin to love without condition, without demand, and without expectation. Love is no longer an act. It becomes your state of being. This is the heart of spiritual wisdom, the space where the mind quiets and the soul takes the lead. You are no longer seeking enlightenment. You are living it through the grace of acceptance and the power of compassion. Carl Jung believed that wholeness, not perfection, is the goal of life. You embody this truth when you no longer strive to be flawless, but instead embrace every shadow as part of your divine wholeness. You understand that light cannot exist without darkness, that peace is not the absence of chaos, but the ability to remain still within it. You walk through the world as a silent healer, lifting others simply through your vibration. People may feel lighter in your presence without understanding why. It's because you have become a vessel of divine energy. You radiate serenity that speaks louder than words, teaching others not through explanation, but through embodiment. In this state, you realize that love is not an emotion that comes and goes. It is the eternal rhythm of the universe itself. You begin to see that every thought of kindness, every gesture of understanding, and every moment of patience sends ripples of healing through collective consciousness. You live no longer for the self, but as the self, the divine essence expressing itself through human form. Every breath you take becomes a prayer, every word a reflection of peace, every action an offering of grace. This is the true meaning of spiritual awakening, not an escape from the world, but a return to it with an open heart and an awakened soul. You are no longer separate from the divine because you finally understand you have always been it. Every stage of spiritual awakening is a sacred invitation to remember who you truly are, not a destination to reach, but a continuous unfolding of consciousness. As Carl Jung reminded us, there is no coming to consciousness without pain. Yet through that pain, we evolve into our most authentic selves, guided by spiritual wisdom and inner truth. If this message has touched your soul, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss our upcoming videos that continue to explore the hidden layers of the human spirit and the path toward awakening. Carl Jung's Forbidden Truth: 5 secrets you must never reveal after spiritual awakening. Knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darknesses of other people. Carl Jung. In today's world, where oversharing has become the norm, true spiritual wisdom lies in what we choose to keep sacred. In this video, we'll uncover 5 powerful truths Carl Jung warned us never to reveal once you've awakened spiritually, not out of fear, but to protect your inner light and maintain the sanctity of your transformation. Each secret you guard is a boundary that strengthens your soul, guiding you toward peace, clarity, and self-mastery. As you listen, reflect on your own journey. Which of these truths have you been too open about? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's grow together on this path of higher consciousness. 1. Never reveal your shadow before integrating it. Carl Jung taught that revealing your shadow before you've truly integrated it can destroy its power to transform you. The shadow represents the hidden, rejected parts of your being, the emotions you suppress, the desires you deny, the fears you refuse to face. When you share these unhealed aspects too soon, before understanding or accepting them, you interrupt the sacred alchemy of transformation. You risk turning healing into performance, confession into projection, and spirituality into ego. In the process, what could have become your inner gold instead disperses as wasted energy. When the shadow is exposed prematurely, projection becomes your first trap. You unconsciously throw your darkness onto others, blaming them for what you have not yet faced within yourself. Instead of transforming pain, you repeat it in different forms through criticism, judgment, or resentment. The second danger is ego inflation. Speaking about your wounds before they are healed often gives the illusion of growth, as if awareness equals transformation. But awareness without humility is still a mask of the ego. It makes you feel special for suffering instead of liberated by understanding. And finally, there is energy leakage. Words are containers of power. When spoken too early, they release the energy meant for internal change. Like spilling sacred water before the ritual is complete, your transformation loses its potency. True shadow work, as Jung emphasized, is not meant for public display, but for sacred introspection. It is a silent confrontation with your inner world, where your greatest fears and hidden desires live. It happens through reflection, journaling, prayer, and mindful observation. You meet your pain without judgment and allow your unconscious to speak through dreams, emotions, and intuition. Only when your shadow is faced in honesty can it be integrated into light. This is where real spiritual awakening begins, not in speaking about your darkness, but in transforming it quietly until it no longer defines you. Those who are truly walking the path of spirituality understand that silence is strength. They know that transformation happens in the unseen, not in the applause of others. When your shadow is fully integrated, it becomes wisdom rather than confession. It becomes your power instead of your wound. You no longer need to announce your healing, because your presence itself speaks of peace. Integration is the moment you can hold both light and darkness without conflict, knowing they are both sacred. The mature soul doesn't reveal its pain to be validated, but shares it only when it can uplift others. That is the mark of true spiritual wisdom. The mastery of energy, the discipline of silence, and the courage to heal in solitude until the light within you becomes unshakable. Comment below, "I am mastering my shadow," if you are ready to face your darkness with courage and turn it into light. 2. Keep your synchronicities private. Synchronicities are not coincidences, but sacred alignments between your inner world and the outer universe. When these moments appear, when you think of someone and they suddenly call, when a symbol repeats itself, or when life feels like it's speaking directly to you, it's your psyche sending a divine message through the language of the soul. Carl Jung called this a causal connecting principle, where two seemingly unrelated events meet in perfect harmony to remind you that everything is connected. These signs are deeply personal, designed specifically for your stage of spiritual development. And when you honor them privately, their power multiplies. But when you share them too soon for validation or attention, their energy begins to dissolve. What was once a mystical message becomes noise. What was sacred becomes spectacle. The more you try to explain them, the further you move from their original magic, because synchronicities are not meant to be proven, They are meant to be lived and understood in silence. You must learn to protect the language of your soul. When you experience a synchronicity, write it down, sit with it, and reflect on what it might be trying to tell you. The universe doesn't speak in words, but in patterns, symbols, and timing. Each sign mirrors your inner transformation, showing you how far your consciousness has evolved. Sharing it too early with others invites external opinions that can distort the message and weaken your spiritual connection. Some people will not understand, and others may project their skepticism or ego upon it. Spirituality is a sacred dialogue between you and the divine. It doesn't need an audience. Just as a seed must remain underground before it sprouts into light, your synchronicities must be protected in silence until their meaning fully blossoms within you. Every coincidence is a mirror reflecting your energy back to you, reminding you that the universe is responsive to your vibration. When you observe without broadcasting, you train your awareness to recognize divine order in all things. Over time, this sacred practice becomes an anchor in your spiritual awakening, guiding you toward deeper intuition and faith. Keeping your synchronicities private is not secrecy, it is spiritual maturity. It means you no longer chase validation, but trust that the signs meant for you will continue to unfold at the right time. As you grow in spirituality, you realize that divine communication thrives in stillness. The less you speak of it, the louder it echoes within. So treasure your synchronicities as holy whispers from your higher self. Protect them from the noise of the world, and let their wisdom unfold naturally as you walk further into your spiritual development. Have you ever noticed signs or patterns from the universe that felt too personal to explain? If so, share how they guided you in the comments below so others can learn from your experience. If not, comment, "I'm open to divine synchronicities," and begin your journey of awareness today. 3. Guard your archetypal dreams. Carl Jung's spiritual wisdom teaches that not every revelation is meant to be shared, especially those that arise through dreams carrying powerful archetypal symbols from the collective unconscious. These dreams, where the wise old man, the divine child, or the great mother appear, are not coincidences. They are sacred encounters with the deeper layers of your psyche. Each figure you see in these dreams represents a potential within you waiting to awaken. Yet, if you reveal these visions too soon, or interpret them as proof of enlightenment, you may fall into what Jung called psychic inflation, where the ego confuses connection with identity and begins to think, "I am the wise one," or "I am divine." When that happens, you lose the essence of the message. The purpose of these dreams is not to glorify the self, but to humble it, to remind you that the archetypes are mirrors reflecting what you can become, not medals proving who you already are. The wise old man appears not to crown you with superiority, but to guide you toward patience, insight, and inner discipline. The divine child represents the rebirth of your pure essence, the part of you that trusts life, feels wonder, and radiates love without ego. The Great Mother embodies compassion, balance, and the sacred ability to nurture life within and around you. These archetypal figures are lessons clothed in symbols, not confirmations of spiritual rank. When you share them prematurely, the energy meant to transform you internally disperses outwardly through words, comparison, and pride. The soul's alchemy requires silence because transformation happens in stillness, not in display. As Jung said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Becoming requires time, reflection, and the courage to hold mystery without needing applause. Your dreams are divine seeds planted in the soil of your unconscious mind. If you dig them up to show others, you interrupt their growth. Instead, let them germinate in silence. Record them, study their symbols, meditate on their patterns, and ask what quality or truth they are awakening within you. Each dream speaks a sacred language that only your higher self fully understands. When you interpret them with humility rather than pride, they reveal wisdom that no book or teacher can give you. Jung often reminded his students that the greater the light, the darker the shadow. Every spiritual revelation exposes both the divine and the human within you. The ego will try to claim the light as its own, but true awakening means learning to hold that light with reverence, not possession. Guarding your archetypal dreams does not mean repressing them. It means protecting their sacred energy until they mature into understanding. When you do this, you transform quietly from within, embodying the wisdom of your dreams instead of merely talking about them. You begin to live the qualities of the wise old man through discernment, the divine child through innocence, and the great mother through love. This is the essence of Carl Jung's spiritual wisdom. To awaken is not to boast of revelation, but to live it with grace. So when sacred dreams visit you, do not announce them, become them. Let your transformation be your only testimony, for that is how divine truth stays pure within you. Don't forget to subscribe for more spiritual wisdom on understanding and protecting your archetypal dreams, where the deepest messages of your soul are revealed. 4. Do not announce your ego dissolution. When the boundaries of your identity begin to dissolve and you experience a moment of pure awareness, it feels like touching eternity itself, a breathtaking stillness where everything and nothing coexist. But what Carl Jung taught through his deep exploration of spirituality and the human psyche is that such profound moments are not meant to be announced, glorified, or shared too quickly. When you dissolve the ego and merge with oneness, you enter a realm beyond language, beyond comprehension, and trying to explain it to others who have not yet tasted. That state often invites misunderstanding, doubt, or even ridicule. People trapped within their own egos may project fear or skepticism, causing your still fragile awareness to tremble. What was once a divine revelation may suddenly turn into confusion and spiritual instability. This is why Jung said, "No tree can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell." It means that the higher your consciousness rises, the deeper you must ground yourself in ordinary human experience. Spiritual awakening is not about escaping reality. It is about bringing heaven into the smallest acts of everyday life. You must integrate those transcendent moments gently, like nurturing a delicate seedling before it becomes a tree. When you awaken, there is a temptation to tell the world what you have seen, to speak of your oneness with the universe, to share how you felt yourself dissolve into divine light. Yet true spirituality is not performative. It is silent, patient, and sacred. The more deeply you awaken, the more you realize that silence itself becomes your teacher. Every revelation must pass through the test of embodiment. It must be lived, not spoken. Balancing transcendence with daily reality is not a limitation. It is the only way for enlightenment to endure. Without grounding, the expanded consciousness can become unbalanced, floating too high to function in the physical world. You might lose touch with simple joys, with human connection, or even with your sense of purpose. Jung's wisdom reminds us that awakening is not an endpoint, but a delicate dance between spirit and matter, light and shadow, expansion and contraction. To stay rooted, you must consciously engage with the world. Cook your meals with awareness. Feel gratitude while washing dishes. Breathe deeply as you walk under the sky. And remember that the divine is not somewhere above you. It is within the ordinary rhythm of life itself. After ego dissolution, the self is reborn in stillness, fragile yet luminous. Do not rush to define or display this transformation. Let it breathe. Speaking too early about such sacred experiences can reawaken the very ego you transcended. The desire to announce your awakening often comes from the subtle residue of the old self still seeking recognition. Instead, let your presence speak louder than your words. Let your peace become your message. Spirituality, in its truest form, is an invisible power, a quiet knowing, a calm that cannot be shaken. Integrate your awakening slowly and allow the divine awareness to flow naturally through your daily interactions. Live with humility and grace, for enlightenment is not an achievement, but a return to your natural state of being. You are not required to explain to others what cannot be understood with the mind. You are only asked to live it, to embody the light you've seen, and to honor the balance between transcendence and humanity. Remember that even after ego death, you are still meant to experience laughter, love, struggle, and simplicity. The awakened soul does not withdraw from the world, it radiates through it. Balance is the mark of real awakening. To walk the earth while remembering heaven, to act with compassion while rooted in stillness, to be fully human and yet deeply divine. That is the essence of true spiritual awakening, the moment when enlightenment ceases to be an idea and becomes your way of being. If you've stayed with us this far, it means you're truly walking the path of awareness. Comment below, "I am dissolving the ego," to affirm your inner growth. Your reflections help us build a community of conscious souls. 5. Never declare freedom from morality. After awakening, many people fall into the illusion that they are now free from all moral boundaries. They begin to see that morality, which is labeled good or evil, is a social invention, a construct shaped by centuries of culture, fear, and religion. They think that by transcending these constructs, they have achieved true freedom. Yet this is one of the greatest traps of the ego after spiritual awakening. The awakened mind may reject the rules of society, but the awakened heart understands their purpose. Real spirituality is not about escaping morality. It is about embodying a higher, more conscious form of it. As Carl Jung once said, "No tree can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell." You must face the shadow of human nature and integrate it, not deny it. Spiritual development is not rebellion. It is reconciliation between your light and your darkness, between instinct and wisdom, between freedom and responsibility. When you are truly awake, your actions no longer come from fear of punishment or desire for praise. They arise naturally from compassion, from unity with life itself. You begin to live by inner ethics rather than external laws. Not because someone tells you what is right, but because your soul simply cannot harm what it recognizes as part of itself. This is the silent strength of awakened morality. It is effortless, gentle, and authentic. It does not boast, it does not need validation, and it does not rebel to prove its independence. It moves quietly, like still water, aligning itself with the truth of existence. The more you evolve, the more you realize that morality is not a prison built by man. It is a compass that, when purified of ego, points you toward harmony and wholeness. So do not mistake transcendence for superiority. Thinking you are beyond good and evil only feeds the spiritual ego. The very illusion awakening was meant to dissolve. Real awakening is not about breaking rules. It is about outgrowing the need for them. You don't become free by rejecting morality. You become free by understanding it from the inside, by recognizing that true goodness doesn't need to be enforced. It simply flows through the awakened soul as naturally as light through clear glass. When morality rises from consciousness rather than conditioning, it is no longer a chain. It is the rhythm of life itself. The mature soul acts ethically not to please the world, but because unity has replaced separation and compassion has become its only law. In the end, spiritual freedom is not rebellion, it is integration. The enlightened person doesn't declare themselves beyond morality. They live as morality personified, blending wisdom and kindness, strength and humility. This is the secret. Jung pointed to the paradox that true awakening doesn't destroy ethics, it deepens them. It transforms moral duty into spontaneous love and turns external law into inner harmony. That is the mark of real spirituality, a silent, radiant integrity that needs no words, no rules, and no rebellion, only awareness. Stay aligned with true spiritual wisdom by subscribing to our channel, Spiritual Wisdom. Here, we explore the depths of Carl Jung's teachings and uncover truths that guide your awakening with integrity and light. Remember, freedom without morality is chaos. Walk the path of conscious awakening with grace and discernment. The journey of spiritual awakening is not about exposure, but preservation of wisdom, of energy, and of truth. As Carl Jung taught, the deepest revelations are meant to be lived, not displayed. Protect your sacred knowledge and let your silence speak through your transformation. If this message has awakened something within you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom. And turn on the notification bell so you won't miss our upcoming videos filled with deeper insights on spirituality and self-mastery.